The hidden power of 1%. What if I told you that the difference between success and failure doesn't lie in making giant, dramatic leaps, but in the small, seemingly invisible actions you take each day? That the key to transforming your life, your wealth, your health, your happiness, might not require an overnight miracle, that the consistent power of tiny daily improvements. It might sound too simple to be true, but I want you to consider this. What if the secret to your dreams is hidden in the smallest, almost effortless actions you take day in and day out? It's easy to think that success requires a dramatic transformation. We see headlines about celebrities, athletes, entrepreneurs, and think that their breakthroughs came because they somehow cracked a secret code, found an easy path, or jumped over hurdles that most of us will never be able to leap. We imagine that success is some giant mountain, and that in order to reach the peak, we have to make enormous strides, find shortcuts, or work around the obstacles that stand in our way. But the truth is, success doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from the accumulation of small, consistent steps. This is where the power of the 1% rule comes in. The concept is deceptively simple but wildly powerful. If you improve by just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. Let that sink in. It's not about making massive overnight changes. It's about improving a little bit every single day. If you can commit to this tiny, consistent improvement, you'll unlock a level of progress most people can't even imagine. Now, I know what you might be thinking: minus 37 times better. That seems impossible. But I assure you, the numbers don't lie. Think of it like compounding interest in a bank account. If you start with just a small deposit and continue adding just a tiny bit more every day over time, those little additions compound into something significant. At first, it might feel like nothing is happening. Maybe you don't notice any immediate results. It might seem as though your progress is too small to make a difference. But just like planting a seed, the impact of small improvements begins to grow. Slowly, you begin to see the fruits of your labor, and what was once a tiny sprout becomes an orchard of growth. But here's the catch. The reason why most people fail to see the power of this rule is that they're obsessed with quick fixes and immediate results. Think about how many times you've searched for something like how to lose 20 pounds in 7 days, or how to make $1 million in 1 year. We live in a world that rewards speed and instant gratification. But the 1% rule is a long game. It's not about achieving a massive goal in a short amount of time, but about committing to small, manageable actions that compound over time. Instead of focusing on an outcome, focus on the process. Build the habits that will get you there. Imagine if you took just 10 minutes a day to improve yourself. Maybe you read a page of a book, went for a brief jog, saved $1, or meditated for 5 minutes. These actions seem so small on their own, but over time, they begin to stack up. Every small effort is like a brick that you're adding to the foundation of your future success. It's not about finding shortcuts or magic formulas. It's about making small improvements and sticking to them, day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results are not immediately visible, because it's the compound effect of these little actions that eventually leads to extraordinary results. In the beginning, it's easy to feel discouraged. You don't see the results right away. You may even question whether it's worth it. But here's the thing. Success, real success, is not about instant results. It's about planting seeds and giving them time to grow. It's about taking small actions, being consistent, and trusting that those actions, no matter how small, are adding up. Think of it like a tree growing slowly in the forest. You might not see it getting taller day by day, but over the course of months and years, it can become a towering giant. When you look at the people who have achieved great things, whether it's in sports, business, or any other area, they didn't get there because of some overnight miracle. They got there because they took small, consistent steps over time. They understood that success doesn't happen in an instant. It happens in the tiny moments that we often overlook. and they trusted the process. That's the essence of the 1% rule. The key is to focus on small, incremental improvements. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. Instead, identify one area of your life you can improve by just 1%. Maybe it's eating a little healthier, working out for 10 minutes, or saving a small amount of money each week. These little changes may seem insignificant on their own, but when you build them into your routine, they compound into remarkable progress over time. This journey is not about perfection. It's about persistence. Even if you slip up, even if you miss a day, just get back on track. The beauty of the 1% rule is that it doesn't require perfection. It just requires that you keep going, one step at a time. Every time you take a small action, you are moving closer to where you want to be. And that's how you turn tiny, everyday actions into a monumental success story. The power of consistency in building habits. So now that we understand the magic of tiny daily improvements, the next step is to make sure we stick with it. Because, let's face it, motivation is fleeting. There will be days when you don't feel like pushing through, when the small actions feel pointless or unimportant. That's where consistency becomes your true ally. Consistency is what turns your efforts into a sustainable force. It's the secret ingredient that ensures those 1% improvements don't just happen for a week or a month, but for a lifetime. Consistency is the backbone of the 1% rule. Without it, all the small steps you take would just be scattered moments of effort that fade away quickly, leaving no lasting impact. The real transformation happens when you turn these small actions into habits, the automatic routines that guide you without needing constant motivation. Think about the habits you already have. Maybe you brush your teeth every morning and night, or you always have a cup of coffee when you wake up. These actions are so ingrained in your life that you don't even have to think about them. That's the power of a habit. It becomes part of who you are. And when you build new habits that align with your goals, you essentially set yourself on autopilot for success. But how do you build habits that last? How do you ensure that the 1% rule isn't just another fleeting phase in your life? It all comes down to understanding the habit loop, the cycle of cue, routine, and reward. This loop is the core of how habits are formed and sustained. First, let's talk about the cue. The cue is the trigger that reminds you to take action. It's the moment that initiates your habit. For example, if you want to build a habit of exercising every day, your cue could be something as simple as brushing your teeth in the morning. You've already established the habit of brushing your teeth, so why not anchor your new habit of exercising to this existing routine? The cue is already there, brushing your teeth. Now, after brushing, you immediately go for a 10-minute jog. This creates a natural, seamless transition from one action to the next. Next comes the routine. This is the actual behavior or action that you're trying to turn into a habit. In this case, your routine would be the act of jogging for those 10 minutes. But the key is to make it small and manageable at first. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to run a marathon right away. Start with something you can do every day without fail. The more achievable and consistent you can make your routine, the more likely it is to stick. Finally, there's the reward. The reward is what reinforces the behavior and makes you want to repeat it. It's the feeling of accomplishment you get after completing your jog, the satisfaction of having checked off another box in your day. This is what drives your motivation to keep going. But rewards don't always have to be grand gestures. They can be small, everyday affirmations. Maybe it's feeling the rush of endorphins after exercise, or the sense of pride that comes with completing a task. These rewards reinforce your commitment to the new habit and remind you that the effort is worth it. The beauty of this system is that it makes the process of building habits almost effortless. Once you've established the cue routine reward loop, your new habit becomes automatic. It's no longer a matter of motivation. It's simply a part of your day. And once you've established one positive habit, it's easier to add more. But let's face it, life doesn't always go according to plan. There will be days when you fall off track, when distractions, obstacles, or setbacks make it hard to maintain your consistency. And that's okay. What matters is how you respond when things don't go as planned. The truth is, progress is not linear. You will face plateaus. There will be days when you feel like you're not making any progress at all. There might even be times when you feel like you've hit a wall and your efforts are futile. But here's the key. Setbacks are normal. They are part of the process. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not the absence of setbacks, but how they respond to them. Think about a time when you were knocked off course. Maybe you lost motivation, or life threw you a curveball. It happens to everyone. Even the most successful people in the world face setbacks. Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, is known for his incredible work ethic, but even he misses penalties. The lesson here is simple. Keep kicking the ball. When things don't go your way, don't quit. Refocus, adjust, and keep moving forward. The key is to stay resilient and remind yourself why you started in the first place. This is where the true power of the 1% rule shines, because even if you stumble or miss a few steps, it's the small, consistent actions that compound over time. If you miss a day of exercise, don't throw in the towel. Just get back on track the next day. If you fall short in your savings goal, start again the following week. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is their ability to stay committed, even when things get tough. When you build habits and learn to navigate setbacks with resilience, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of growth. The beauty of the 1% rule is that it's not just a short-term strategy. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that you can carry with you for the long haul. And when you adopt this mindset, you realize that success doesn't happen in a single moment. It's the accumulation of all the small steps, the daily choices, the habits, and the consistency that leads to the big wins. So let's take a step back and think about your own life. What small habit can you build today that will pay off in the future? What tiny improvement can you make that, over time, will ripple into something monumental? Maybe it's something simple, like saving $1 each day or spending 10 minutes on a hobby you're passionate about. These small actions might seem insignificant now, but when you look back a year from now, you'll realize that they've transformed your life. The 1% rule isn't about quick fixes or shortcuts. It's about embracing the journey and trusting that the small actions you take today will create extraordinary results tomorrow. So ask yourself, what small step can you take today that will start your journey toward success? And how will you stay consistent, even when the going gets tough? Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. Keep going, one step at a time, and watch as your life transforms before your eyes. The power of small wins and the ripple effect. At this point, you might be starting to see the power in the simplicity of the 1% rule. It's about consistency, it's about building habits, and it's about pushing through setbacks. But there's one more powerful element that brings it all together, one that elevates this approach to a whole new level. And that element is the power of small wins. We often overlook the significance of small victories. We are so focused on the big picture, on achieving the massive goal at the end, that we forget that the path to those big achievements is paved with countless small wins. These small wins might seem trivial in the moment, but they are the key to unlocking long-term success. And the more you celebrate them, the more motivated you'll feel to continue moving forward. Think of it like building a house. You don't just wake up one day and find a fully constructed mansion in front of you. You start by laying one brick at a time. And while one brick might not seem like much, it's the accumulation of all those bricks that eventually builds the home. Each brick is a small win, a small step toward the bigger goal. But without each of those bricks, there would be no house. And the same principle applies to your goals, your habits, and your journey. When you start focusing on small wins, you begin to shift your mindset. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of your goals, you begin to appreciate the progress you're making, no matter how small it seems. You realize that every tiny action matters. Every step you take is one step closer to the person you want to become, to the life you want to create. And when you start to celebrate these small wins, you fuel your motivation to keep going. It's not just about the destination. It's about enjoying the process and recognizing the progress along the way. But here's the thing about small wins. They create a ripple effect. Think about how a pebble, when dropped into a still pond, creates ripples that spread out far beyond where the pebble landed. In the same way, the small wins you achieve today don't just stay within the confines of today. They ripple out, influencing your future success in ways you might not even realize. One small win builds momentum. It creates confidence. It fuels your drive. And before you know it, that one small action turns into a series of actions that leads to bigger and bigger successes. Let me give you an example. Imagine you decide to save just $1 every day. $1 doesn't seem like much, right? But let's say that you stick with it, day after day, week after week. Over time, that $1 grows into a significant amount. What's more, the habit of saving daily becomes ingrained in your life. It becomes part of who you are. And soon, you'll find yourself making more conscious decisions to save even more, to invest wisely, and to think about your finances in a way you never did before. That single dollar, once seemingly insignificant, turns into a foundation for financial freedom. Or let's take a different example. Imagine you want to get fit, but the idea of working out for an hour every day feels overwhelming. So instead, you start with just 10 minutes of exercise each day. You might feel like that's not enough to make a real difference, but here's what happens. As the days go by, you begin to enjoy the process. You feel stronger, more energized, and more confident in your body. And before you know it, those 10 minutes turn into 20, then 30, and soon you're working out for an hour a day. What started as a tiny, manageable change has turned into a powerful habit that transforms your health. These are the ripples. They start small, but they spread far and wide, changing not only the area of your life you focused on, but also other areas you might not have expected. Small wins have a way of snowballing into something much larger than you initially imagined. The beauty of this ripple effect is that it doesn't just apply to tangible results, like finances or fitness. It applies to your mindset as well. The more small wins you experience, the more you start to believe in yourself. You begin to trust that if you can achieve these small things, you can achieve bigger things too. The confidence you gain from seeing progress, no matter how small, strengthens your belief in your ability to succeed. And this belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you believe in yourself, the more likely you are to take action, to push through obstacles, and to achieve even greater success. And here's the most powerful part of all. Once you see the impact of these small wins and the ripple effect they create, you begin to realize that success is not a destination. It's a journey. You stop seeing your goals as something distant and unattainable, and you start to appreciate the progress you're making in the here and now. The small wins become the fuel that keeps you moving forward, and they give you the strength to keep going, even when things get tough. But let's talk about the mindset you need to fully harness the power of small wins and the ripple effect. There's a simple, but profound, shift that happens when you start to focus on the 1% rule. Instead of seeing each small step as an isolated event, you start to see it as part of a larger story, your story. Every day you are writing a new chapter. Each small win is a sentence in the story of your life, and those sentences add up to paragraphs, pages, and eventually, entire chapters. As you turn each page, you get closer to the person you want to be. This mindset shift is critical. If you want to fully embrace the power of small wins, you need to let go of the need for immediate results. You need to stop focusing on the end goal and start embracing the process. You need to trust that every small action you take is contributing to a larger picture that will unfold over time. The 1% rule is not about quick fixes or shortcuts. It's about realizing that success is built on a foundation of small, consistent actions. It's about understanding that every small win creates a ripple effect that spreads throughout your life. And it's about believing in the process, knowing that every step you take brings you one step closer to the life you've always dreamed of. So let's put this into action. Ask yourself, what small win can I achieve today that will start this ripple effect in my life? What tiny change can I make today that will lead to something bigger tomorrow? And how can I celebrate these small wins along the way, knowing that each one is a stepping stone to something greater? Remember, the power of small wins is transformative. It's the key to unlocking your potential, to building the momentum that will carry you forward. And when you focus on these small, consistent steps, you'll be amazed at how far you can go. Keep making those small changes, celebrate every win, and watch as the ripple effect turns your dreams into reality. Embracing the journey and the power of consistency. As we wrap up this journey together, I want you to take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. The 1% rule isn't just a principle, it's a lifestyle, a mindset that has the power to transform your entire world. It's not about achieving perfection or waiting for a big breakthrough. It's about making small, consistent improvements every day, trusting that these small steps will lead to monumental changes over time. It might feel tempting to chase the quick fixes, the rapid results that promise instant success. But remember, the most powerful change happens not in the flashes of brilliance, but in the quiet, consistent actions that we take when no one is watching. Success is not a single moment. It's the accumulation of tiny moments that, when added together, create extraordinary outcomes. Look back at your life. Think about the habits that have already shaped who you are today. Whether it's something as simple as brushing your teeth, making your bed, or drinking water, those small habits, over time, have defined your daily rhythm. Now, imagine that same power working in your favor as you focus on those small wins that lead to bigger victories. The beauty of the 1% rule is that it shows you that no step is too small, no action is insignificant. Every tiny change compounds, builds, and magnifies over time. As you move forward, remember that setbacks will happen. There will be days when progress feels slow or even non-existent. But it's in those moments that your consistency matters most. It's in those tough times that your ability to keep going, no matter how small the action, will make all the difference. Every time you get back up after a setback, you build the mental and emotional resilience to keep pushing forward. Now, here's your challenge. Start small. Don't aim for perfection. Find one thing you can improve by just 1% today. Maybe it's reading a single page of a book, getting up 10 minutes earlier, or saving $1. Whatever it is, make it small and achievable. Build that momentum, and allow the ripple effect of your small wins to transform your life. Years from now, when you look back, you'll see that it wasn't the big breakthroughs that made the difference. It was the small changes you made each day, the habits you built, and the consistency you maintained. You will realize that, just like planting a seed, the smallest of efforts can grow into something extraordinary if you water them with patience and commitment. So, take the first step today. Commit to that 1% improvement. Trust that each action, no matter how tiny, is a piece of the puzzle, and watch as your life transforms one small step at a time. Because in the end, it's not the huge leaps that define success. It's the quiet, consistent steps that carry us to greatness.